So you asked me about the three most important things that I want TEP students to learn. And it's always hard to boil that down to three things. But when I think of it, the first thing I want them to learn, of course, is the content of teaching reading and writing, because you can't be an expert teacher unless you yourself understand the content of what you're teaching. Those are all the things we all know about: vocabulary, word identification, comprehension, engaging with reading, all those kinds of things. But the most important part about learning the content is that you learn to be a flexibly adaptive expert teacher. And by that I mean that you learn the concepts so well that you can adjust instruction to whatever needs kids have. So there isn't a magic bullet, there isn't a best program, there isn't one way to teach. What there are important concepts that teachers need, and then the expertise to go into their toolkits and use whatever strategies work best. And I think good teachers can teach well under lots of different circumstances. Second thing that I'd like them to learn is how to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of a wide range of kids. You know, we have classrooms with children reading anywhere, sometimes from pre-primer to 12th grade level, all in the same classroom. And obviously they don't need the same kinds of instruction as everybody else. So the idea of differentiating instruction to meet the needs of kids, while at the same time holding high standards for kids. And the third thing I would say is how to engage kids and make them interested, thoughtful, motivated to read and write for real reasons. And real reasons include school reasons, as well as learning about the world, relaxing, reading a newspaper, reading comics, reading novels, working on the internet, and all the media kinds of things that kids need. So those are the three most important things that I want students to learn in my course. So what kinds of work or strategies do I want them to be able to practice during their field work? Well, you know, everything. And really, it is a wide range of experiences. Some of the key experiences are working with small groups of students, and some people call it guided reading, other people call it scaffolded reading experiences, other people call it reading groups. But the idea that teachers work to not only engage kids in reading and talking about text, but actually actively teaching them the skills and strategies they need so that when they read on their own or write on their own, they can actually do that. So I want my students to have experience doing those kinds of things. Assessing students, going back to one of my goals for students is knowing what children need. So we spend a lot of time in my coursework, and I hope they get experiences working both informally and formally on assessing students. You know, teachers make decisions every 1 or 2 minutes that they teach. That's why they're exhausted at the end of the day. But making those decisions based on information, good information about children, is what actually changes instruction. And that's the teachable moment. You know, it's not getting test results back 3 months later that will make the difference. It's being able to watch closely, maybe do some informal assessment to say, these kids got it, these kids didn't, tomorrow I need to do something differently. What else that I want them to do? Of course, engaging kids in real writing and the writing process. The idea of taking an idea and working it through over a course of time, even in kindergarten, the idea of pre-writing. Let's think about what we're going to write before we go ahead and write, as well as in upper grades, obviously, using the writing process to create writing that's shared with other audiences, again, both formal and informal. I want them to learn how to talk with kids about reading and writing, not in what we call the IRE pattern, where the teacher asks a question, the children respond, the teacher asks another question, the children respond, but engaging them like real readers and writers who argue about points, who see the text differently, and get excited about both reading and writing, reading one's written work to others in the class and sharing work. Those are some of the kinds of experiences. Grouping students, setting up reading corners, setting up sustained silent reading. There are so many pieces to a complete reading program that anything that they can do in the classroom would be really valuable. I think a cooperating teacher can support students in doing all these things mostly by sharing his or her thinking. You know, it's really hard for new teachers to understand why experienced teachers make the decisions they do. And sometimes for us as experienced teachers, it's just kind of like breathing. You know, we know why we're doing what we're doing, but for beginning teachers to be able to say, or to have you say to them, why did you do that? I'm so interested about that. Did you consider other things before you did that? Or to have the cooperating teachers sit down and talk with the teacher and say, I noticed when you were working with this group of students that you decided to do this. Talk to me about that. Are there some other things you considered? Which kids do you think got it? Which kids don't you think got it? Let me tell you one strategy that I saw a colleague use. Or go down the hall and watch Mr. X do this, because he does a great job at it. I think anything that cooperating teachers can do to help novice teachers get into the thinking about teaching, not just the doing about the teaching, but the thinking, the planning, the observing, the thinking on the spot. All of that would just be so helpful, so helpful. So what I'd love to know from cooperating teachers is, what do you think the most important things are that we need to be working on here at the university? What do you think beginning teachers really need to know and be able to do? And you know, we all continue to learn over time. I continue to do lesson plans that are way too long, way too ambitious, and I'm always cutting back. So we all learn over time. And so as cooperating teachers think about beginning teachers, I would love to know what they think are most important, and how can we do a better job of working with them to prepare students to become excellent teachers.